Hey everybody, Rick here. In this video, I want to discuss how to make the most out of your first trip overseas and how to make it easier and more enjoyable. So with that said, let's get to it. Hey everybody, whenever you go to take your first trip overseas, the thing I would like to suggest to you is plan, plan, plan. You really can't plan enough. I found that out the hard way on certain things. I thought I had everything figured out and everything planned down to a T, but there were things that gave me a few difficulties when I was over there. For me, I wanted to know first off what the climate was going to be at the time of year I was going to go. So through my research, I found since I was heading over to Thailand that I was planning on being around the beach areas most of the time. I went in November. And that way I was in Thailand's winter, I guess is what they would say. And I was ranging anywhere at 70 degrees at night up to 90 during the day. So it was very good climate for what I wanted to do. You could swim in the beach. You weren't too hot. You weren't too cold. And the nice thing about it was that being that time of year, it wasn't the rainy season, so the humidity wasn't terrible. It wasn't like during their rainy season in April and May, July, June, around in there, where the humidity, they're up at 100 degrees during the day with extremely high humidity. Now, I will say that whenever I traveled from the beaches a few times to go more northern and get out in the rural communities and changing my elevation, there were times at night that it got down around, I'd say probably mid-50s, 60 degrees. So cool, but definitely not uncomfortable. And then during the day, it was right back in the 70s, mid-70s, around in that area. So first thing you need to do, in my opinion, is figure out what you're wanting to do. If you're wanting to be a beach goer, I suggest that time of year. You're going to be the most comfortable. You can still swim, do whatever you want to do. The pitfall to that time of year is a lot of tourists do go during that time for the exact same reason. So if you plan on hitting a big tourist area, expect to have more people during that time. Now, the next thing I'd like to discuss is it was the hardest thing for me to try to figure out, and that was what I was going to do about money and my currency. Well, I first found out about how I could use things like Wise to transfer money to a bank account over there, but you had to have a bank account over there. So initially what I did was I took so much cash with me, but I didn't want to carry a large sum. So I also got some Thai baht to take with me. And then once I got over into Thailand, I opened up a bank account at Bangkok Bank. And unless the laws or rules have changed over there, they're pretty expat friendly and it's not too difficult to do. Well, once I had that bank account open, it wasn't any trouble at all for me to connect Wise to my bank account back in the U.S., see what the current exchange rate was, currency rate, and just transfer money from my bank account straight in to Bangkok Bank. And it was there within 24 hours every time I did it. The benefit to this was I had a much smaller fee. Instead of using a bank card like mine at an ATM or always going to a currency exchange, you pay a lot higher rates there, or you're paying, sometimes really high ATM fees. I mean, you might have $6, $7 every time that you'd use your ATM card. I never like to carry over 10,000 baht, which is around the $300 range, with me at one time. So I wanted a way to just access that $300 at a time, which was plenty for, a week or more in Thailand where I was at and with what I was doing. So you'll probably want to really think hard about what you want to do, how much money you're going to need, and how you're going to access it. Now, if you plan on using charge cards, I can tell you that's fine in some areas, but many things you're going to want to do over in Thailand, you need to just have cash. And while they will accept U.S. currency without a doubt, I don't suggest that. And the reason being is because you're going to sometimes end up paying more if you're using U.S. currency. You're better just to have so much cash with you in Thai baht, in their currency, and, do as they do. Whenever you're there, use their cash system, and you'll come out way ahead in the long run. And it's just not difficult to do, and it's more cost effective for you. It's easier for them, and there's never any confusion on things. The other thing is on your charge cards. I did have 2 charge cards that I carried for emergency use. And I'd use those if they took them, if I might stay at a hotel or an Airbnb, and that way I could keep my cash with me. What I did do, though, and I found out, like my bank in the U.S. on the charge cards, I was going to be in Thailand more than 30 days. So they wouldn't allow, they wouldn't put an extension. I shouldn't say they wouldn't allow. That's not correct. They only allowed a 30-day extension on my charge card. In other words, they could put in the system that I was going to be gone and I was going to be traveling to this area, and the time allotment that their system would allow at my bank was only 30 days. So I needed to call back and renew that if I was going to be there longer. I was glad I checked into this, because the problem is I didn't have any way to call back. When I got over there, I didn't want to make calls back to the U.S. on my phone because the cellular charges were outrageous to do that. So I went into my bank personally and talked to them in the credit card department where they check for credit card fraud, and they were really helpful and they understood the situation. And the lady in charge of that department said they would put something on there to redo that for me automatically after my 30-day time sequence was up. So you may want to check, just because you put a hold on, is there a limited amount of time, and is that going to expire while you're over there? Because otherwise, if I ran into a problem and then all of a sudden I'm decline, with the time difference, I'd have to set up until the middle of the night. Then I'd be charged a big fee on my cellular. Blah, blah, blah. You get it. It ends up turning into one of those nightmare deals for you. So I don't want to see you hit that. So be sure you do that. The other thing I did in case a charge card got lost or stolen is most charge card companies, the ones that I'm familiar with, have an international calling number. So where I was saying that you could not, wasn't wanting to call back over here and have these big, outrageous fees. They have an international number that you can call from anywhere in the world in case your card is stolen. So you might see if the charge card companies have that. Now, as far as how I carried my money, normally I carry a wallet in my back pocket, but you always hear the horror stories about pickpockets and this type of stuff. Well, once I've been over there, I call bullshit on that. I never seen or heard of anybody having an issue. But to play it safe, I did my due diligence, and you can go on Amazon or other places, and what I found that was really the most useful anyway was this small passport holder. And not only was it a passport holder, but it would hook around my belt loop, and it had a very strong sewn-on nylon patch, and it was made out of a water-resistant cloth, and it had a place for the passport, and it also had 2 zipper sections on it. Well, in these 2 zipper sections, I could keep my couple charge cards, I could keep my Thai baht, I could keep my passport with me at all times, which you should always do, and I could place it on my belt to where it slid right down in my front pocket. So that way I didn't have any kind of wallet or any kind of money or anything in my back pockets. And it was not only in my front pocket where I would know if anybody tried to get to it, but it was also secured by a belt loop. And the belt loop that was on this little portable wallet was large enough I could always pull it out of my pocket easily. I could get my money out. My money was in front of me. Everything was secure. There wasn't any chance of anybody getting anything from me. So you may want to look into some of these little wallets that hook and were made out of cloth, go onto your belt. If I think about it, I'll try to dig mine out. I've put it up and maybe throw a picture up on or a link to where I got it on Amazon, something like that for you. So that was very helpful. It made me feel secure, though. I never had any time over there after I got it. I felt kind of silly. I felt like I looked like the expat guy, the tourist, because there just really wasn't any issue or any circumstances that made me uncomfortable. But anyway, never hurts to play it safe. So one of the other things that I did was I took a very, very small piece of paper and kept it in a secure location that nobody could see, nobody knew about, nobody could get to. And it had these phone numbers on it where I could call, and it was in a separate location than my wallet. And if my wallet got stolen, then I didn't have to have these numbers memorized. I didn't have to have them in my phone in case my phone got, stolen or broken or something happened to it. I just had them written down the old-fashioned way on a little slip of paper, and that way I could have always had some way to communicate back and get everything shut down if I had to do it. So that's something you might want to consider also. I've made me a little cheat sheet here if you see me look down so I make sure I don't miss anything on this. Yep. The other thing to think about is when you get over there, you're going to want to be able to get you a SIM card somewhere. There's several different companies. You can research them online. You know how that is. It changes all the time. But generally, it's going to cost you about $30 or $35 for 30 days of a SIM card with unlimited text and call. Now, what I would suggest is take your phone, but leave your phone with its SIM card for the United States, for like if you're from there where I am, or whatever country. I know mine for the U.S., I could have my friends and neighbors that were watching my house or my other things install WhatsApp on their phone. Then they could call me, and any place I had Wi-Fi, wherever I was at, I'd get the call straight through to my phone through WhatsApp, and we could have a FaceTime type call or a voice call. You could do the same thing with Facebook, and Messenger, but I chose WhatsApp. I like how its functionality. It's never failed me so far. So that's something you might want to consider. And then what I did was I had a second old phone. I had like an older iPhone 5, and I took it with me. And then when I got there, I got a SIM card for Thailand, popped in it. And that was my Thailand phone when I was over there. If I needed to call for a cab or, call looking for a place to stay, that was the phone I used for that. I would also use that phone for my Thailand Wi-Fi hotspot. So if I was out on the beach or something and I didn't have Wi-Fi close, I could turn that on to a hotspot. I could connect my phone to it, and presto, I had internet access to my phone. I could get WhatsApp calls. I could search the internet. I could do whatever I wanted to do. So that's another thing you might want to try. I know, guys, there's a whole lot of different ways you can do it. So if you have suggestions, leave it in the comments or ways you've done it when you've traveled overseas. You may know a much better way. That's just what I came up with that has been working for me so far. The next thing is I would not pre-book everything before you go where you plan on staying. I wouldn't plan on staying in an Airbnb if you want to really experience the culture and save money, because you will find if you're over there boots on the ground that if you get you an Airbnb set up so you've got 2 or 3 nights, and whenever you get there, you walk around, you check with some of the locals, you ask if they have, if they hear of anything depending on what you're looking for in a location. You would be absolutely amazed at what you can find over there and how it can come in so much cheaper than an Airbnb and be possibly a nicer place at a better location. I found so many places over there that were walking distance to the beach or on the beach, and I was paying for an extremely high-end place. I was paying $60 and $70 a night, but I'm talking high-end on that one. And then I would have other places that were on the beach that were more than adequate and very, very nice, and I might pay $15, $18 a night to stay in them. And these were in somewhat tourist areas like Jom Tien and, kind of that Pattaya area there, and also in Ray Leong and Nong Khai, places like that. So just boots on the ground. If you Airbnb it, you're probably going to pay a little bit more if you pre-book everything. A lot of Thai locals have places and their own mom and pop little resorts and that type of thing. And if they think you're going to stay 3 or 4 or 5 nights, they'll give you a better deal. They may have really cool Thai food, little cookouts and things you can go to. And plus, they're really, really awesome people about telling you things you might want to see or do. So personally, I'd boots on the ground and go looking around and kind of see what's out there. I think you'd be surprised at the results. The other thing is, don't be the flashy expat. If you're one of those people that's worried about, you might get robbed or something like that, first off, I didn't hear of anybody getting robbed when I'm over there. So I'm just telling you this for those that have heard these rumors and are concerned. But it's no different than if you're in the United States or any place else. I wouldn't advise, I don't feel comfortable here where I'm at in the middle of Missouri, walking around and having a $10,000 gold chain on my neck that somebody could run up and grab. Just me personally, I feel more secure if, guy's walking around and he's not wearing a big Rolex watch, or he's not being the guy flashing a lot of cash around every place he's at. Because things like that, no matter where you're at, what country or what state in the USA, that's just asking for trouble. So just be a regular guy or gal over there and just enjoy yourself. You don't have to show off. Those people are not looking to be impressed. They're just looking for kindness and people that are polite. So don't be the flashy expat. Don't go over there bragging or saying everything you've done. I think you will find the reason I'm telling you this is not to be demeaning in any way. It's to say that they're a different culture over there. They're not really looking at that type of thing as much as people might think. If you're just very polite and nice, they are so kind and helpful to you. And I never had anybody in any way give me any issues or anything looking at me as to whether he had enough money or looking down upon me or up upon me or anything else. If I was just level and square with people and honest and polite, I always receive the best treatment that way. So that's my recommendation. If you guys have had some different experiences, put them in the comments and let me know, because, I'm no expert on it. All I can do is just tell you based on my experience what I ran into when I was over there. The biggest thing too, I found too on traveling around is public transportation was cheaper than anything. You can rent a scooter if you want, but everything's different. Like in the United States, everything over in Thailand is mirror opposite in driving. So for me, right off the bat, that was just asking for me to be in an accident, because I could just see being in the wrong lane or not doing something, being used to everything here in the States. So it was just very cheap to catch like a tuk-tuk, or they have the little buses that run up and down the road, and it's very cost effective. They run constantly. Never an issue to get transportation, and you might spend $2 or $3 on it. So public transportation was really a good thing, or I felt it was awesome over there, because it's the thing that's so different about there with transportation in the U.S. is a lot of people ride either scooters or they walk or they use public transportation. Cars aren't as big of a thing over there as what they are here. While you will see a lot of cars, don't get me wrong, a lot of people ride bikes, a lot of people walk. A lot of people use public transportation. They ride trains, they ride buses, they ride tuk-tuks. They have people on scooters that you hop on the back and you give them a couple of bucks and they take you across town. It's just a far different way of doing it. So you might really think about that when you get over there. It can save you a lot of money, a lot of hassle, and you'll always have a ride. You just don't have to worry about it. It's not like the cab system here in the United States. It's far more convenient, flexible, and it works really well over there. The last thing I want to talk about on this is, just be polite. Be a good expat. Be polite. Don't try to change people in the country. Don't go over and complain and bitch and moan about, well, why did they do this that way or this way, or why did they do that way? I noticed that when I was over there, I talked to a couple of bar owners whenever me and my girlfriend would go out at night in Pattaya, and we met a bar owner that was from Canada. And he came over and sat, and we had a couple of beers, and I got to ask him a lot of questions about what it was like to own his bar in Pattaya and, just the ins and outs and pros and cons of it. And what I found really interesting was I asked him, because when I was over there, I didn't see any kind of problems whatsoever. And I said, do you have a lot of issues over here? Or, because their bars stay open and a lot of people, they go there to party, And he said once in a while he had a problem. He said, but here's the unique thing about that problem. He said, the problem, every time I have a problem and I have to intervene with something, it's an expat. He said, I have had so few problems with Thai people in any way causing any issue in the bar, no matter how drunk they got or how loud and party and dance. It was always a happy drunk. He said, once in a while, I would see where an expat would misinterpret the culture and get mad at the Thai culture and, of course, alcohol-induced anger. And he said, next thing you know, you've got this Karen-type expat flying off the handle or getting in trouble or going to jail because they're hitting or attacking somebody. So, accept the culture. Don't try to change it. And be polite, guys. Whenever you're over there, don't think that it's like if you're in the USA. When I'm over here, if I've went out a few times, it was nothing for me to see people getting fights in bars and not be able to handle their liquor. Over there, I didn't see that any. And I went out quite a few nights, and I'm not a super heavy drinker, but I'd go out and I'd party and I'd have fun, and I'd stay out late because I was having fun just watching people. And I seen very, very little trouble, especially as compared to what I see back here in the States. So that's my last note to you guys on this topic. I'm not trying to tell you what to do, not trying to tell you what not to do. I'm telling you things based off my experience that if you go over there, you're polite, you're going to have so damn much fun and such a good time, and people will be so helpful to you, and it will be an experience you will never forget. It will far outweigh anything else you've ever done. Just be polite and be kind, be courteous, patient, and accepting of their culture, and you'll have a fantastic time. Thailand's one of the best places I have ever been in my life. So with that said, this is Rick. I'll see you soon, and please like, subscribe, and hit the bell. The channel's still growing. I'm still small right now, but I'm trying real hard to get it to grow, and with you guys' help, with everybody assisting me in this, I can. So thanks a whole lot, you guys. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you next video, and leave me comments. Let me know what you'd like to hear, what you like, what you don't care about, and I'll see what I can do for you. See you guys soon.